it's Zach. Welcome back to the Heroverse, and guys, this will be All-American Season 4, Episode 16, called Labels. Guys, I really was excited for this episode, because as we all know, in last week's previous episode, with the whole NIL situation, and how Olivia was looking into it, and, she got to finally hear out Davita's side of the NIL thing, saying that, there's people that, use the opportunity in a good light, and then there's people that abuse that opportunity and pretty much forget, that like pretty much that can open a big can of worms, and bad things can happen when those opportunities are put on somebody. Some people can overuse that, and bad things can happen. And we saw a good light of things where she notices now that there's a good side to it and there's a bad side to it of the opportunities of that being put on people, whether they're making money off their likeness and how good they are. And that was just very interesting to me. And we all know that she was using she was going to use an example for Wade Waters and his irresponsibility of him not showing up to practice, for Coach Grant and stuff, and how, because he wanted to, he was going to an NIL sponsorship thing for his private jet thing, and he didn't show up to practice, and he had people lying for him. So she was going to use the opportunity to be like, okay, this is the bad side of NIL, with people focusing on leaving, not even focusing on football anymore, and they're focusing on just all the perks that come with making money off their likeness and how good they are at the sport that they're playing, and they're not even showing up to practice, not even having a care in the world to support their teammates and stuff like that, and show up for the team. They just are in it from themselves and going forward, and they don't even care about football anymore. They're kind of shying away from that, and they just care about the money. And we're really seeing that with Wade Waters. So she was going to use Wade Waters as an example, but as we all know, the events that went down in the last week's previous episode with Jordan, pretty much, he's getting walked on by Wade Waters. He's kind of like Wade Waters and all the other seniors, of all the other all the first strings, pretty much, towel boy, groupie, essentially, and he's he claims that, he wants to learn from Wade Waters, but Wade Waters is just treating him like shit, and pretty much is just stepping all over him, and just thinks of him as the third string, nothing more than the third string, nothing more than just a shadow to him, and can't be, and Jordan can't be nearly as good as him. But Jordan does, he's trying to just, in a way, he's thinking, just suck it up, you know what I mean, this is all going to be worth it, but he's being used, and he's being treated like crap, and he's not sticking up for himself. And he was excited to go to the Vegas trip on, the private jet that Wade Waters is you should come on, you should come with all of us, on the trip to, Vegas in the private jet, and show how it's going to be, when I leave, this could all be yours one day. But, Coach Grant, punishes Wade Waters for not showing up to practice for an NIL thing, and puts Jordan in because the second string got hurt. So, and as we all know, Wade wasn't having it that, Coach Grant put him in instead of him. Put Jordan in instead of him. So I really love how when he turned, the man is oh yeah, you're not going, Jordan, you're going to stay back and all that stuff. You think you were really going to go or something? Just pretty much being a jerk and a petty ass. And next thing you know, we find out that Olivia is making the story on him. And I was really excited for this episode because, we saw from the sneak peek for this episode that Jordan was very upset, yelling at Olivia, saying, don't you care? When are you going to, stop getting involved in things that, that involve everybody else, and you make it hard and stuff. And we see that moment in this episode where, in the beginning of this episode, we get Spencer trying to figure out, trying to make a brand, because we know that from last week's episode, he's trying to make a brand because Davita said, you need to make a brand because, you're doing, you're on special teams now, you need to make a brand, you need to make some noise, and when you do make some noise, which, he did good in the last previous game, he needs to take this opportunity to get a brand out there, so that way people, can really, he can make some, keep up the noise surrounding him, and he can still get to the NFL by even being on special teams. So he has to make some noise, make some people, really focus in on him, so that way he can make sure he can still get his dream to get into the NFL and get all that stuff that he wants to get, and get all the sponsorships that he wants to get, but he needs to make a brand first. So we see this in the beginning of the episode where he's with Olivia at the beach house. He's trying to figure out the brand for his, for his brand. And we see, of course, he's asking Olivia, what should I do and all that stuff. And she's I forget what he said, you could, he was just naming a whole bunch of things, okay, what should it be, should I mention how like my achievements and stuff, and she's like, everybody has done that before. You need to find out like who you are in particularly, like what do you stand for, because you could say the same thing everybody else is saying, but you need to have something that stands out that really says that it's just you, it's your brand. And we see that through this entire episode where, like, Spencer's trying to figure out, like, who he is, what he stands for, and something that is literally just going to be, like, it can't just be, like, a carbon copy of how anybody else would have, like, a brand. It needs to be his brand, and he needs to separate himself from everybody else. He needs to show that there's only one Spencer James, and there's only one, and there's, like, and something that stands out that is something that's his. So we see that through this entire episode where he's asking Coop to help him out. Coop makes jokes about, like, oh, you know what I mean, you're going to mention your big head and stuff, you know what I mean, you're just you know what I mean, and you know what I mean, and like she was just joking around with him, and in a way she was like helping him out, but just goofing around at the same time. And that was just very cool to see Spencer trying to figure out a brand and figure out, who he is, because we see also, we get, Dylan back in this episode, which, man, Dylan has grown a shit ton. I don't remember the last time we saw Dylan, but he's going through some things, trying to find out who he wants to be, find out who he is, and you know what I mean. They brought up some good subjects, where like I forget who said it. It might have been Coop saying, you know what I mean, like, it's kind of hard to be your own person when you have someone like you, like, as their older brother, and you know what I mean, you're always up on ESPN and stuff, and you're breaking records and doing all these things. It's kind of hard to make your own path and not feel like you're in a shadow, and not feel like that you can live up to anything. And we see, Dylan, we end up finding out that, his teacher, I forget what his teacher was for. I guess his teacher was an art teacher, but he was like a history teacher that barely knew history. And I guess Dylan made a comic book making fun of his teacher, calling him like the snooze, meaning that he was just so boring. And like the teacher didn't like it. The teacher said that he is never going to leave South Crenshaw, that his art's never going to get him anywhere. And there's teachers like that in this world that like to tear down their students to make themselves feel better about how they didn't achieve their dreams, and how they give up on their dreams, so they like to tear down kids' dreams and stuff. They claim that they're trying to set our expectations for how life really works, but that's just bullshit to me. It's like you should want to help your students achieve their dreams, regardless of how crazy they might sound. Nothing is too crazy. Anybody can do anything that they set their mind to. People that become actors started from where we were when we were in school. You know what I mean? They did special thing. You know what I mean? Of course, they might have done drama class and then got into a school and then went off to acting. But you can do that. It's possible. And the fact of it is, or hell, if you want to be, you know what I mean, in the NFL, you grind all throughout school, grind all throughout high school, make a name for yourself, get into a good college, and do it. You can do it. You know what I mean? It's not even hell. I mean, a lot of people that don't even get into a good college and go to like just like, you know what I mean? It doesn't even have to be a D1 college. You can get into a college, ball out there, and then still get into the NFL and stuff. It's possible. Any dream you want to achieve is possible. And how teachers like to tear down people for their dreams is disgusting to me. I've had that happen where, like, I'm going to say how it is. I had a reading disability, and teachers like to tell me and made fun of me because I didn't know how to read. There are teachers like that, and that's disgusting to think teachers would do that. But I didn't give up. I kept striving, and I kept pushing myself, saying that I don't care what the teachers are saying. I know I'm going to read one day. And I did. I started reading great. You know what I mean? So you can do anything you set your mind to. I mean, hell, teachers thought that I wouldn't be successful on YouTube, and look at the fam growing each and every day. And teachers thought that was funny that I even wanted to do YouTube, saying that's impossible. Teachers like to tell me I couldn't get into acting, which this is a door that's going to open acting for me. I love movies, I love acting, and eventually I hope to get into the acting industry at some point in my life, once my first goal, which is getting YouTube off, to making this channel one of the biggest channels on YouTube. I once that's done, I'm going to lead into acting. That's what I want to do, along with keep doing YouTube. So I know it's going to happen, and I'm going to keep striving for it, regardless of what anybody says. But that really hurt my feelings that Dylan had to go through that, and felt like his artwork was going to get him nowhere, and felt like, the teacher was right, that he was never going to leave South Crenshaw. But I love when Spencer said, that, the teacher is right. You're not going to leave South Crenshaw, because that South Crenshaw is in our blood. It'll be here. Like, we'll always have South Crenshaw in our hearts. That's what people don't understand. That's what makes us, South Crenshaw makes us stronger. It makes us, want to give everything our all. It hardens us. It makes us a better person. And that's so true. And I love when Spencer says to Dylan, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to use what defines us in my branding, and I want to use your logo, which it said like South Crenshaw Kings, or it said King, yeah, I think that's what it said, which was beautiful. He wanted to use Dylan's logo from his comic for his brand. I thought that was really nice that it defines who they are as a person. They both love South Crenshaw, and that will never leave them. They're one of those people that would never turn their back on South Crenshaw, and that's what's beautiful when you don't turn your back on what you love and where you come from. And I feel like that's that separates Spencer from everybody else. He never turns his mouth on South Crenshaw. He loves South Crenshaw. And you know what I mean? Like, you know, and Olivia said the best. You know, I don't know anybody else that loves South Crenshaw more than you do. And you always keep repping it, and you always keep supporting it, and you always keep standing up from where you come from. And I was like, that's beautiful. That's so true. And same with Dylan. And I really love how they, you know, it's the best of both worlds that, you know, Olivia said, how can we both support our brothers? Because in this episode, you know, Jordan pretty much comes out of Olivia after the big awkward conversation between Wade Waters, Spencer and Jordan, when Spencer and Jordan are both in the weight room. Wade Waters comes in there after the interview with, you know, Olivia, after he called Olivia the rudest name of all freaking time. Man has no respect for women at all, and had the nerve to say some shit about a girl he barely knew. And I was like, and even if you knew her, that's not okay. So the fact of it is that really pissed me off. And the fact that he made it sound like, oh, it was you know, Jordan coming after him for his position, even though Jordan said, you know, there's no hard feelings after, you know, the coach putting me in and stuff, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry that, you know what I mean, I just got my opportunity, you know what I mean? I shouldn't even have to say sorry for it, but Jordan said it anyways, like, I'm sorry, bro, you know, I got put in and stuff, but, you know, it was my opportunity, you know what I mean? Like, they needed me in, you know what I mean? It's not my fault. And this Wade Waters is just a petty ass with his groupies, thinking he's all big and bad, and he's just bullshit. So when he came in there pretty much acting like, oh, it was Jordan that set everything up, where, like, you know, Olivia would set him up so that way Jordan could swoop in and take his position. No, Jordan doesn't need Olivia to help, you know, take you down, to take your position. You not showing up like a dumbass is what's going to give Jordan your position, because you're not dedicated as much as Jordan is. Yeah, Jordan likes to goof off here and there, but he's dedicated to his sport and his grind, and he's going to do it, even though he did slack in the beginning of the season. But he said, oh, it's because, you know, it was still summer to them before the season actually started. But I feel like he's learned over time, which he has. He's been grinding nonstop since he's been there. But, you know, I just thought that was really pathetic on Wade Waters' behalf, that he thought Jordan would do some crap like that. And even, like, Spencer didn't even know what was going on. I feel like Spencer, if he knew, even if Jordan knew what Wade Waters called, you know, his sister, or even how, if Spencer knew what, you know, Wade Waters said about his girlfriend, his ass would have been grass. He would have gotten his ass kicked. But, that was just, you know, like weird that he thought that that Jordan would be gunning for his position. On top of, you know, Billy was there because Billy was, you know, was recommending, you know, I think it was, you know, Jaubrey and all them, like, I guess, you know, recommending them for positions right after they graduate from school, like showing, you know, the coach of, you know, Golden Athlete, like showing them, like, oh, you know what I mean, like, there's some great, you know, players here. You know what I mean, I gave you, you know, he's like, yeah, you know what I mean, Coach Grant's like, yeah, you did give me some 2 great players, so I'll keep a lookout for the players that are going to be graduating this year. So that really made me happy to see that, to see them get all that, like, you know, Coach Grant is, like, realizing that, you know, Jordan and Spencer are some really special players, and Billy must be doing something right to really give other players from, you know, South Crenshaw some time to shine and get into Golden Athlete and hopefully get into the NFL. I thought that was really cool. But, you know, but he thought that, you know, that Billy was there, that, oh, you need your dad too to get my position. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know, you thought we were friends, but we're not friends, Baker, blah, 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 blah. And, you know what I mean, that was just stupid to me that he thought that he was going to do that. But when Jordan came after Olivia saying, oh, you know what I mean, you know, why can't you just not do something that's going to affect us all and stuff like that? You don't even care about anything. You never care about anything. You always think what I do is little, you know what I mean? You don't care. And I was like, dude, that's not true. She cares about what you do. I mean, again, it's not her fault that, you know, she needs to put out the story. I mean, she didn't think it was going to affect you, and also she probably didn't think it was going to affect you because you're not someone that lets someone walk all over you. But she doesn't see how Wade Waters is treating Jordan. The only one that really sees the true thing about Wade Waters stepping all over Jordan is Spencer, and Spencer's talked to him about that, but it's really never sunk into his head until, I'm going to bring it up, Layla says something about it when she sees how Wade Waters like makes Jordan carry all their bags and stuff and uses him and just disrespects him and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, she says, they have a big, pretty much they pretty much yell at each other, what is it, Jordan and Layla, when they both get trapped into Layla's, booth at their work, because, Layla went to go get, what is it, Patience's guitar, because Patience forgot it for her, her album, release party, which, Layla wanted Patience to give her a list of people that are going to show up, for the guest list, and and Patience was giving Layla issues that I still don't understand what Patience's problem is. I feel like we should have resolved this when Coop gave her speech, but it seems like it hasn't been resolved, because I guess Layla's been on Patience about, like, okay, we need to get all this set up, we need to get the, what I mean, like, we're almost at the finishing, we're almost at the finish line with this. We just have to do your album release party, and then we're pretty much done, and then we have to set up tours and stuff for you to do all that stuff as well. And pretty much Patience is kind of shrugging it off, saying it's gonna get done. When it's like, yeah, you don't need to do anything, but Layla does. She's your boss. Layla knows how to separate friendship from being a boss, and that's true. You know what I mean, like, when you're the boss and everything rides on you for the person that you're repping to actually follow through on things that you're the manager, and you need the person that you're repping to follow through on things, and when they're not following through on things, it makes you look bad. And it should have been easy to give her a guest list, but like, she was kind of refusing, which I thought was weird, because she's trying to help you out, achieve your goals, and and be successful. And it's kind of like you're acting like it's like everything's gonna be fine, just chill out or whatever. Like, people go, it's stressful, to get you where you are, it's not easy, when someone's trying to, set up, different client calls, and set up everybody to get everybody and all these, people to get ready for your album release party, to get, like, the catering together, and to get everything together, to make sure that you have all the equipment you need. Like, it's hard. So I understand where Layla's stress is, on top of she's still dealing with the fact of Carrie almost killing her. You know what I mean? So, like, she explains this in this episode, where, again, Jordan yells at Olivia and leaves the place, and after Layla's done yelling at Patience about, Patience pretty much acting like everything is like, oh, it's just like, oh, you're, like, acting like, Patience acting like Layla's, like, over the top, and, she shouldn't be acting like that when, she's going through a lot. And, trying to get, help out Patience, but also trying to deal with the fact that she almost died, and she's not okay with that, but she's put up a wall because of the events of what happened. And the only one that has been able to penetrate that wall is Jordan. That's the only friend that Layla really talks to and opens up to. And there's a moment where they're both mad. Again, Jordan's mad at Olivia, and again Layla's mad at Patience. They both leave to go get Patience's guitar, and then and Layla said, "I'll meet you, I'll meet you, Coop. I'll meet you, Coop, and Spencer." All at the album release party, and again, Jordan goes with Layla. They both get trapped into the room, and they both start yelling at each other, because they're kind of like bringing up their problems and what they're going through. But then they end up yelling at each other. So, Layla's like, you need to grow a pair of balls, and you need to stand up for yourself instead of like letting Wade Waters walk all over you. Like, what happened to you being confident and letting not anybody walk all over you? Like, what happened to that? He's like, okay, well, you're talking to me about what's wrong with me, and then somebody walk all over me. What about you? You put your guards up, and like you drop your pants, and then you put your guards down. The way you let anybody in is when you drop your pants, and you're screwing over Clay and Asher and all them or whatever. And that's the only way you let people in, is unless you're having your flings and stuff, which was really messed up that Jordan said it, but it was true. She only lets people in when she wants to have her flings, but she won't let people in to become her friends, or even even start a relationship, because she's afraid of letting her guard down again, whether it be whether a relationship, whether it be having a new friend, because she's afraid to trust anybody after the events of Carrie. So I understand what she's like. I understand that it's going to be hard for her, and that's why she puts her guard up, but Jordan wouldn't let her put up her guard with him. He's like, I wouldn't let you do that. You know what I mean? Because I'm the only one that wouldn't let you do that, because everybody else let you do that. And it's true. Everybody else kind of let her do that, not pushing through to not let her put up their guard up with them. Jordan's been the only one that really pushed through and make sure that he keeps getting through that barrier, and actually, and so she knows that there is still a friend there for her, that if she needs to depend on somebody. And I feel like that's why they match so well, because they're there for one another more than Simone's there for him. And I mean, I like Simone, but Simone and Jordan aren't meant for each other. Simone and Damon are meant for each other. Layla and Jordan are meant for each other, because even Simone said to Jordan, even Layla said to Jordan, Simone's not here. She isn't. If she knew what was going on, she'd be telling you to grow a pair too. I feel like Simone, in her own way, is like thinking that what her situation she's going through, making how she thinks she understands what's going on, how like Jordan's trying to get in good graces with like the leader of the football team, kind of like, you know, Simone's going through a thing with Thea, the leader of the tennis team, and you know what I mean. But there was a layer that Thea, and there was a front that Thea put up of how she how she had this persona of how she of a bully, when that's not who she was. People just thought she was, and then she just thought, you know, I might as well be that or whatever. And she didn't really have any friends. Wade Waters is just an ass. There is no excuse there where Simone doesn't really know what's going on, and that Wade Waters isn't Thea. You're not going through the same thing Jordan's going through. And again, you're not here to know what Jordan's going through. And I mean, they even talked about, you know, Simone talked about how, like, you know, she felt out of sync with Jordan, and they haven't been able to get a minute together because, one, Simone was, you know, ditching any, you know, date call time with Jordan just to go hang out with Damon, it seems like. So it seems like, you know, we're already getting a problem where, like, they're not on the same wavelength, where it's like, it's true that, like, Layla's more there for Jordan than Simone's there for Jordan, and Damon's more there for Simone than Jordan's there for Simone. See what I'm saying? It's like the long distance isn't working, and it seems to be that, you know, the writers are trying to show us that sometimes relationships don't last outside of high school. They don't. Sometimes you think you found the one you're supposed to be with in high school, but you don't. You find them in college, and it seems like and that's what's really happening. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, you know, Layla was disguised as, like, Jordan's best friend, but it's actually they're always like meant to be together. It seems like that Layla and Jordan were friends, but that's usually how great relationships and soon to be, you know, marriages happen. You start out as friends, and you think it's just friends until you get to the point where it's like it's more than friends. And it seems like that's been the case where Jordan and Layla always had that connection, and I felt like we've seen that throughout the years, especially in like the seasons that we've had. I even called this out. If you guys have been here before, I called out saying that I bet you they're going to get together, and it happened. I also called out in this episode where, you know, they're yelling at each other, pretty much telling each other how it is, and the truth that needs to be said to one another about how Jordan lets people step all over him, how and how Layla lost a part of herself that died that night when Carrie almost killed her. And these things needed to be said because it helps our characters grow, and it shows that the one thing that people haven't been telling them, and the harsh things that our characters need to hear so they can grow. On top of, you know, the whole Sky and Coop thing, I said that I bet you Sky is going to be Coop's new love interest. I think that's happening. I think we're seeing that in the making. I think we saw that in the last previous episode where, you know, like Sky, you know what I mean, clearly told, you know, to Coop, like, oh, if you want to talk to me, you know what I mean, my DMs are open. And then Sky pretty much going to the Baker house to go see Coop. And we saw how jealous of how Patience was. And, you know, when, you know, Sky came in, you know, Coop said to Sky that, oh, these are my roommates, not, oh, this is my ex-girlfriend and my roommate. No. And you could tell Patience was not really liking that so well, and I knew she was going to have a problem with that and how she was just going to be jealous. I knew that was going to be a problem because the moment where Coop said, and I think it was a couple of episodes ago, when she said, oh, I was hoping we would become friends again, I knew Patience did not like the sound of that. I think she always hoped that they would just get back together, and I don't know if that's going to happen. It'd be cool if it did, but I don't know if it will, because I feel like Patience and Coop are endgame. I feel like that they will come together again, but I think it's going to take a minute. And then we see again with you know, Sabine and Patience, how Patience is a big fan of Sabine, but also Sabine's a big fan of Patience and her music. And we saw how kind of like the one moment where like Coop introduces, you know, herself to Sabine, and you know what I mean, and she says, oh, hi Sabine, I'm a big fan. I'm Patience's, and she said, oh, this is my roommate. Kind of like, oh, you know what I mean, you said I was your roommate, so I'm gonna tell, you know, Sabine that you're my roommate if we're going to play that game, meaning she's trying to get back at Coop for the whole, like, or whatever, because Patience isn't dumb. She kind of knows that there's something there, and I think even Coop's realizing there is something there, hence why she left with Sky and looked back at, you know, I look back at Patience when she, Sabine was dancing with Patience on stage at the album release party, and the moment where, like, I guess Patience saw the Sabine and them leave, when Patience saw Coop and Sky leave, you could tell how sad Patience was, and that's why, Patience kissed, Sabine, and, Sabine said maybe back in the day, before I just focused up on work, I would definitely kick it with you. But, man, I would just, I understand that, you felt a type of way after, your roommate Coop left, meaning she kind of knew that there was something there between Coop and her. And she said, if I was best, for you, I would just focus up on your music and just leave that all in the past. Meaning, I don't know if that's what's going to happen. I mean, is she going to let, just Coop move on? Because I think Coop only left with Sky because of how Coop thought Patience feels about Sabine. I think that's why the only reason why she left with Sky. But who knows? I mean, I feel like she kind of, in a way, you can tell there's something there between her and Sky, Coop and Sky. So who knows? I don't know how the writers are going to play this. It's going to be very interesting to see how they play this. I'm excited to see it. And also, we didn't see Asher in this episode. We didn't see JJ in this episode. We didn't even see Jamie in this episode. We only focused up on the main core characters really in this episode. Besides, hell, we didn't even see Davida in this episode. By main core, I mean even Asher and JJ are really considered main core, but they weren't even in it because I guess the story didn't fit in with them. But next week's episode between Spencer and Asher is going to be crazy because Asher's looking at Coach Montez asked Asher to look into Spencer's on how Spencer, is how he is as a player, because it seems like I guess they're going to be playing up against one another, both of those teams. Like, I guess, what is it? I forget what team JJ's on. I think it's UCLA versus what is it? Versus Golden Athlete. I think that's how it's going to be. If that's the team that JJ's on, I'm not even sure, but either way, he wants to earn a spot. Like, this is my opportunity. My coach is asking me to look in on Spencer, and of course, who knows Spencer more than I do? I played with him. He once was my rival, and then he became my friend. I know how he plays, so of course, Coach Montez is going to ask Asher to do that because Asher's good on knowing how players perform. And that's why Spencer feels like he's being betrayed, saying, "You're really going to do that to me, bro? Like, I thought we were friends and stuff." But it goes beyond friendship. When will people realize, once you're out in the real world and you have an opportunity to it's not even really screwing over, I would say. It's that he's going to become a coach, and that's what all coaches do. You're not special, Spencer, in that way of why do you have it out for me, or why would you do this to me? I thought you were my friend. Even if you had anybody else, like, let's say you have Billy, you know what I mean? If he was coaching the team and he knew how you would play, he would look in on you. You know what I mean? It's just a normal thing coaches do, is they look in on the opposite team's players to get ready their players for their game. It's not like he's really betraying Spencer. He's just doing the job of what he's going to be doing when he becomes a coach. He's just having an opportunity to get on Coach Montez's on Coach Montez's radar to actually prove to Coach Montez that he is an ally and he can become a coach. So it's like, you can't blame him for that. If Spencer was in Asher's position, he would be doing it too. So I just don't know what that's all about, but I'm excited to see it in next week's episode. I'm really excited. But I would say by far this is probably my favorite episode maybe of this season. I just really enjoyed it because I feel like things needed to be said, and it was so entertaining to see Jordan and Layla be trapped in a room and see their relationship grow. Or seeing their friendship grow into a relationship, because it's definitely going to happen. I knew this was going to happen. I'm just so happy it's happening. And I could see things build up as we've seen from All-American Homecoming. Things are definitely building up there where Simone and Jordan are going to be breaking up, and Damon and Simone are going to be getting together. We're seeing this start to lead up to their breakup, and I don't know how it's going to happen. I'm excited. And I'm not watching All-American Homecoming tonight, so I don't know when Jordan leaves to go see Simone, but I'm excited to see when that is. I'm just excited to see that, so I'll be giving you guys my All-American Homecoming review this Wednesday, if I'm correct, after Moon Knight, so I'm excited to do that. But yeah, guys, literally this episode is insane, along with Billy trying to figure out the balance between coaching and figure out the balance between being the head principal of South Crenshaw, also trying to find balance to be there for Laura. And that one moment where, can't stay for breakfast. I could tell how sad Laura was. It's like, oh, I know, like, I made the sacrifice to move to South Crenshaw with you so you could become a coach and also become the principal. I would hope for you to make sacrifices that you would try to find balanced time. So, we could work on our marriage. You know what I mean? Like, they just got remarried, if I'm correct. Yeah. And they're trying to, like, still keep it so they don't get a divorce again. You know what I mean? They're trying to, he promised, you know what I mean? Like, he wouldn't, that they would make it work out. And it's like, he hasn't had time. Mind you, she knows how passionate he is, but she's not really trying to, like, start problems. So she's like, I knew that he's passionate about this. I knew going into this I was going to be making sacrifices when we moved to South Crenshaw. I'm fine with this, but in reality she wasn't. And I love how Olivia brought that out to to her dad, saying like, look, she says it's okay, but it's not that you missed dinner again. But he had to miss dinner because he missed the meeting, and that one girl is after the principal position, which I forget her name. And you know what I mean? And Preach said, to Billy, like, look, you might think this is just, it's just a meeting, but it's like, I'm tied in, like, we're a package deal, and if you screw up and you get kicked out, I'm getting kicked out. You know what I mean? You need to look good, makes me look good. So I understand that Preach was like, no, you know what I mean, and just don't shrug this off. You need to try to find balanced time. How about, you go, you have assistant coaches, let them do it. And then, Billy's like, I need to be hands-on. And he's like, Preach's like, no, but you have two hands, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? You can't be hands-on for everything. Your marriage, doing this, and, you know what I mean, being the assistant coach. You need to let the assistant, coaches do their job for you while you also work on the principal position, but also go home to your wife and actually, ask her how her day is and communicate and live your marriage, you know what I mean? So that was very interesting to me, and I just love when Billy let the assistant coaches do it, and he was done with all the principal stuff, and he got to go home, and he got to really have I think it was, I want to say it was either dinner or breakfast. I think it was breakfast for Laura. I made breakfast for her, and sat there, and they were talking, saying he's like, this is important. This is life right here. You know what I mean? You're my life and stuff. So I mean, like, this is forever and stuff. So I was like, that's cute. That's good that he's realizing that he needs to make time. But the funny thing that was funny as hell to me is when he was quickly getting ready to leave and take some bacon and get ready to get out of there before he sat down because he couldn't. He said, "Oh, maybe when I get back, we can have some dinner. You know what I mean? And we can do the I was like, oh my god. It was so weird to see Billy do that. I was just shocked just to see him do that. He's like, maybe when I get back, we can have some dinner, we can relax, and maybe we can do some I said, dang, bro. I said, jeez. It was cringy, and I was like, I just couldn't believe it because we've never seen him act like that. I just thought that was hilarious. But yeah, honestly, guys, this was just another great episode. I really enjoyed this episode. I would say by far this might be my favorite episode of the season because I feel like so much happened, so much interesting stuff, and I feel like next week's episode is just going to top it off because it seems very interesting what the situation between Asher and Spencer, and I feel like Spencer should understand because again, that's what coaches do. So it's not like it's a new thing that he's, you know what I mean, like that's not normalized. It's like coaches do that to get their players ready to go against your team, you know what I mean? Like that's what they do. So I'm excited to see next week's episode. Again, I loved this episode. I want to know what your thoughts are on this episode and what your theories are on the next previous episodes to come. And also, again, if you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel, punch notifications, like this video. I'd love to have you guys here, a part of the fam, a part of the channel. Yet again, we're all about spreading love, positivity, and motivation. And guys, yet again, we are almost to 500 subscribers. We're at 488 right now, almost to 490, which is insane to me that we're literally so close to hitting 500. That is my goal. So if you guys are watching my videos, have come across my videos, or hell, if you guys are new here to the channel, I would just love it yet again to subscribe to the channel, put those notifications, like this video, or hell, if you haven't caught up, if you happen to click this video and, you know what I mean, I happen to click this video and let's say you watch spoiler reviews before you watch the episode, just, or how, actually that doesn't make any sense. Well, if you guys have come here, whatever, to the channel before, it helps with everything. It helps me achieve my dreams. If you guys subscribe to the channel, put in those notifications, like this video. Also, I have a lot here to offer here on the channel. So yet again, go look around the channel. Yet again, I would just love it. Again, if you come join the fam here, and if you do, let me know down in the comments below if you're a new member to the fam, because I will welcome you to the family. And yeah, guys, again, this episode really spoke a lot to me, because again, I was, Dylan, you know what I mean? I was, you know what I mean? I got told by teachers that I would never be able, I got made fun of by teachers that I would never be able to read. I got told by teachers that, you know what I mean, I would never achieve my dreams. Like, teachers do that. I remember telling my teacher my senior year, they do this at all seniors, where like you go into your I forget what it is, kind of like your counselor, and you have to get like college stuff ready for like, oh, where would you want to go to college, you know what I mean, and what would you want to do, in life and stuff. And I remember telling my my counselor, saying, oh, like I want to be an actor, or I also want to like do YouTube, and I want to inspire people, and these are the dreams that I want to achieve. And she said, oh, why don't we do something that's actually like possible. I said, what do you mean? What do you mean possible? She's like, that's not really possible to do. You know what I mean? That's kind of like, like 100 and something chance, or whatever and something chance that you would even make a living there, or even you would even be successful, or even make it. And I said, wow. I said, you're like my counselor. You're supposed to tell me I can do it. You know what I mean? That's what you're supposed to do as a teacher, not say, oh, it's not possible to achieve your dreams. I think that's the biggest mistake like for teachers and for the schools in general, is that we have teachers that just stomp on our dreams and tear up our dreams and make us feel bad, and don't want to motivate us, and don't want to inspire us to say your dreams any dream is possible. You know what I mean? It's just I just can't believe it. Again, not all teachers are like that, but there's teachers out there that literally make it their job to tell kids that they're never going to achieve their dreams, and that's disgusting to me. And yeah, let me know down in the comments if you've had any teacher like that, or if you guys experienced that before, where you've had someone tell you can achieve your dreams and something, or someone say, oh, it's a pipe dream, it's never gonna happen, blah 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 blah. Hell, I've had ex-friends that used to tell me my dreams weren't possible, and that sickened me. Friends I had for years that I thought would never tell me that, that did believe in my dreams, and I found that they didn't. And yeah, it makes me sad that there's people out there in the world that get their happiness on pretty much on trashing people's dreams and saying that it's not possible. But yeah, guys, yet again, that was a video for All American Season 4 episode. I think it was episode, I have to remember. I think it was episode, I want to say, yeah, episode 16, called Labels. I'm super excited again for next week's episode, which I will be getting to you guys on Monday, as you guys know. But guys, that was the video. I hope everybody has a great day, a safe day, and I'll see you guys next Monday for All American episode 17. Peace.